The hate you give little infants F's everybody.
What's up, guys? This is Daria, and we are back for another Kaiju Cinematic Destruction. We got the hate you give. Let's get into this.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the
I need to speak for him.
You to think we could never achieve the inconceivable. We don't belong, but we here unbelievable.
When you ready to talk, you talk. Don't ever let nobody make you be quiet. I ain't named you Starr by accident.
The Hate You Give, directed by George Tillman Jr., starring Amanda Sandberg, Regina Hall, Russell Hornsby, Common, and a whole bunch. Anthony Mackie. Yeah, can't forget him. Whole bunch of people. Whole bunch of stars. Speaking of stars, it is about a teenager named Starr Carter who witnesses her childhood friend murdered by police and just has to deal with that and a whole bunch of other things that a young black girl must worry about in this day and age.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
It is right.
This is one of those kind of movies that my sister absolutely hates. Daria hates these kind of movies.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Usually because they're heavy. They're incredibly heavy.
Yeah.
At least from the trailer standpoint, it seems like a heavy movie, but in all actuality, it's not as heavy as you would think.
You know what? It's not.
It really
isn't as heavy or as deep as you would think it would be, especially dealing with what we are dealing with now in age, racism, and how
police brutality.
Yeah, police brutality. How oblivious
this covers
to
a whole
some
bunch of
things that get said.
Yeah,
that some things get said to other races that the other race might not find offensive, but in fact they are being offensive. It kind of does a lot of that.
It covers a lot of ground. It covers, as we said, police brutality, the justice system, just drug use and abuse, inner city communities, a whole bunch of things. Code switching, even like really. I read the book a couple weeks beforehand. I actually thought it was going to be coming out a little bit earlier than this, but either way, read the book. And what this book and what the movie does in general, and more specifically this movie does, is it has a relationship with the ebbs and flows of the good and the bad, of levity, of warmth, of family bonding, and the valleys of just the anxiety-ridden reality that a lot of Black people have to face. It really rides those ebbs and flows, and it makes it feel organic, and it makes it feel relatable.
Yeah,
in that sense.
Okay.
And
I didn't read the book, so hearing your point of view on the movie versus the book is actually a nice touch.
Really, yeah. That's I do want to get into that. They did. Of course, this is Hollywood. Of course, this is Hollywood. They're going to change a few things up between the book and the movie.
Of course, yes.
But what they changed in the movie didn't deviate from the book, because when it comes to the written word, you have all the time in the world to get to your point.
Yeah.
You control the time and the space and the speed with which you get to these particular scenes, these particular motifs and so forth. But when it comes to the movie, you only got like 2-3 hours to try to get everything involved in. And this movie does a good job of hitting as many of those notes as possible. Of course, they're going to change some characters. Of course, they're going to omit some situations here and there. Because again, you only have 2 to 3 hours to tell your story. You can't hit every single nuanced situation that you would in the book. But this movie doesn't. It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't suffer from that. It doesn't suffer from that because the way that it tells its story is still on point, on par with what the book did.
Okay.
You know, in my opinion. And everybody in this movie was brilliant in terms of their acting.
Yeah. Including characters I don't want to say bad guys, but I guess in a sense to help you understand, characters who you didn't think would say or act on some things happens in the movie. So it does come as kind of a shocker, but then again, if you think about it, it's like, okay, but this is their standpoint and this is why they said that. It kind of does that.
It's kind of funny because
Yeah.
So Common plays the Uncle Carlos in this, and Carlos is a police officer.
Yes.
Throughout all the situation, he is the one in the family that tries to keep everybody, you know, right there on point.
Yeah.
Right? The funny part about all of this, though, is my sister is like, "Oh my god, I can't believe Common played this role," and the whole time I just was thinking, it's like, it's not really too far off considering Ice-T has been a cop for like 15 years on SVU.
That's the thing. And it was like some things he was saying, and I'm kind of looking at it like, did you just say that? Did you just hear yourself say that? And then I had to come back to reality like, yeah, you did hear yourself just say that because this is what you were trained to say.
Yeah.
So technically you didn't say anything wrong.
Yeah.
But you also didn't make the situation better.
Yeah, there are, as I said, nuance. You're going to hear the word nuance probably a few more times in this whole review. This movie does a good job of not trying to pin it on one particular issue. Yes. It does a great job of doing that, the same way the book did. Instead of just going, hey, it's just a police brutality movie. No, it's not just that. They're going to talk about code switching. They're going to talk about the intraracial matters that my sister and I and people who are like us would have to deal with.
We actually grew up in that.
Yeah.
So I understand the code switching because we actually dealt with that our entire lives.
Yeah, we are military brats.
Yeah.
You know, both of our parents were in the service for over 20 years apiece. And we've had to travel every few years. And the schools that they would keep us in would be primarily private schools or on base.
Yeah.
And we'd be around white people more often than not.
Yeah.
So we'd have to learn how to jump back and forth between, you know, living in a neighborhood with more black people than white people a lot of times.
Yeah.
And having to go to school that is predominantly white and having to switch back and forth between different levels of ourselves.
Right.
And Starr, played by Amanda Sandberg,
she actually summed that up very nicely in the movie.
She summed it up
job
perfectly.
Summing that up.
I was actually surprised at how they were able to stay true to the book version of this and not let certain things slip past. Because of course they let a few things where it's like, okay, it's going to have to be left on the cutting room floor. But a lot of this,
it wasn't major though, was it?
No, they weren't supremely major. Like they, again, as I said, like they may have cut out a character here and there, but they still maintained the importance of what that character's role was by using people that they already had on screen.
Yeah. Okay.
And in the case of Starr, they did a perfect job of maintaining who she was as a person.
Yeah.
Throughout the entirety of the movie, despite how they weren't able to talk about everything that she was about. They did it visually without lingering on it too much.
Okay.
And that's why, like, this movie comes out like what, 2 hours and like 15 minutes.
Yeah. And
it doesn't feel long. It doesn't feel long at all.
It doesn't actually. It doesn't. It's a good pace. It keeps moving. You're always entertained because something always happens. So it's not really any dead space in the movie.
Yeah, that's what surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of dead space in this movie.
It's no dead space at all.
It keeps moving.
Yeah.
It moves at such a quick pace that it doesn't feel rushed.
No.
But it also doesn't just like hold on a spot where you're like, okay, can continue on.
Yeah, no, it's like, okay, yeah, I said it. This is what's going on. Moving on. You get it.
It like in a perfect way, it does mirror the book in that way. Because like the chapters are only like, you know, like a few pages long. It's like 20.
Oh, okay.
Like 27 some odd chapters, but like they're only like a few pages long. but it gets to what it needs to get to, and you move on to the next part, and it doesn't feel like you just ran over it, and you have to go back and go like, wait, what just happened? And for the movie, it's the same way. There's not a lot of moments where you just like jumped into the next scene and you're going, wait, hold on. Hold on a second. Let me read.
Each scene has a purpose. None of it needs to be explained at all.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was another thing that was going to annoy me with these racially infused movies. Because that kind of infuriates me because it's like, oh my God, I get it. Can we move on?
Yeah, a lot of movies like this will be like, did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? Are you getting it? Maybe you got it. Maybe you got it.
And it like hammers like, if you're black, this is what it is. If you're white, this is what it is. And I'm just like, oh my God, seriously.
It's like, just get to the next
on with
scene.
It. God.
It's like, no, it doesn't drag.
No.
It doesn't drag at all.
No.
My only issue with the movie is like in the book they made King seem like this big, massive, imposing figure. Yes, I am. I'm gonna go there. They made him feel like this big, massive, imposing figure, and then Anthony Mackie is just like right there. And the whole time,
eye candy. Oh my God!
The whole time,
that is the only bad thing about this movie. Because when you see him, you're just like, oh my God in heaven. And then the crap he does.
You gonna let me
yes, that was eye candy, sir. That was precious eye candy.
As I was saying, damn, just went off on your eye candy rant. God dang.
I apologize. I did.
Little brother, finish.
Go ahead, sir. Proceed.
As I was saying, I am not a small guy. So I don't see Anthony Mackie as big and imposing, and they made him look like he was massive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's not right. You cannot make this man look huge. That's wrong.
Well,
how dare you?
He did. And God, did he look good doing it.
And yes, he was eye candy. Yes, he.
Damn him in the role he had to play, though.
God damn it.
But yeah.
But yeah.
Moving on.
As I said, everybody was perfect.
This movie, I said, every single character in this movie played their part to the T.
Yeah, like even
everybody,
bit players,
even the minute players played it, and they were memorable.
Before we get to the score, I will say this. Now throughout the whole book, they portrayed everybody who was involved with the shooting, police officers, even Officer 115, I believe, if I can remember his badge number, even Officer 115, a particular kind of way. And this one, they didn't do that. They didn't push too far into trying to force a narrative that says, hey, I want you to think like this. Instead, they said, here's what it is. Here's the reality of the situation through their eyes without trying to paint people in particular ways.
Yeah, I also appreciated that as well, because you did see from both sides. You saw from the inner city sides, and then you saw from the affluent sides.
Yeah.
So
you got a lot of different perspectives.
It was from both point of views, which at some point does piss you off. But then again, you can't really get pissed because they also, I don't want to say have a point. That's not really the word that I want to use.
But it's just, you're seeing it from their perspective as well.
But you're seeing it from their side, I guess is a better way for me to say it.
I don't think we have much more to go on.
No.
I think
it's a good movie.
Yeah, go for it, D.
It's a little heavy movie, but it's a good movie. It's a good, it's okay date night movie. It was some couples there.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure about the kiddos.
No, the kiddos can see it.
I think the kiddos of a certain age should see it because they will understand it more.
I mean, 10 and above. I think it's perfect.
I was going to say 12, but okay.
Okay.
But yeah, the kiddos 12 and above should see it. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty deep. With that, I would have to give it 5 stars because there's literally nothing else that this movie could do to explain anything, make me feel some type of way. I think it did it all within the 2 hours. And that was enough for me.
Yeah.
What about you, D?
Okay, so we went to see this on a Thursday night. And there was like virtually nobody there. But then again, at this particular theater that we were at down in Memphis, the Paradiso, it had like 5 or 6 other showtimes prior to this.
Yeah, I
So,
think
like,
it started like at 2, didn't it?
Yeah, like right around 2 or so, they've been showing this movie. Usually it's like 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and that's it. Like, they've been showing this movie pretty much the whole damn day. So I wasn't like surprised that our crowd wasn't that big. But they were raucous. They were loud, but not like, obnoxiously and invasively so.
No.
But like during certain scenes, like they were yelling at the screen, like shoot him, don't shoot him, like stuff like that. And as they're pouring out, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm watching people come out of the theater. I'm about to see like a whole bunch of white folk.
Yeah.
It was like primarily white folk yelling at the screen, gasping at the screen.
Yeah. And yelling and going off at the screen. I was like,
they were enjoying it though.
Wow. Because I thought with them seeing this, they were going to be like, oh yeah, well that happened. No, I got completely different take, and they made sure of that. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, they kind of surprised me. I wasn't first of all, I wasn't expecting them to
I wasn't either.
to be as into this movie as they were, but it was I think it's owed to the fact that instead of going like this side versus that side, it was just like, here is a story about a 16-year-old girl who witnessed a couple of things that went down in her life and how she has to cope with it.
And this is the reality of it.
Yes,
it's not really a story. This is a reality of it. It's a reality.
Yes. And really, there's not much more that I can say, because coming out of the theater, I'm going back and forth on my score, mainly because, I'm trying to see the stuff that they took out of the book versus the stuff that they added to the movie. And there's a level of like, good versus bad in that. Like, did they add more to the story by adding the stuff that they did in the movie, or did they lose on some things because they had to cut a few things out that were in the book? And they gained more by the stuff that they've had to change, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, it stood alone on its own well enough to where if you read the book prior or after you saw the movie, it won't change either experience for the worse. And because of that, I can't not give it a 5.
Yeah.
I have to give it a 5.
Yeah.
And really going with that, like, usually we don't get like supremely political on here. But
this movie forces that.
It doesn't even really force it.
Yeah,
it's just
I didn't
like,
even say force, but yeah.
But like, so I saw Fruitvale Station. Like, what was it? 2012?
I think
2011, 2012. I can't remember the date. I saw Fruitvale Station with my cousin, and I loved the movie. I fell in love with Michael B. Jordan there. I loved the movie. Because I think Coogler directed that one too, and I fell in love with hearing his name. And like, I loved it in the theater. You could never pay me to watch that movie again, because I bawled my damn eyes out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Good movie. I'm just not sure if I can sit through this again.
Oh yeah, because like I
don't
almost
think I'd be able
cried.
to do it. Yeah,
I almost cried like 4 times throughout this movie, and a lot of those periods aren't, oh my God, this is something that, is super heavy that I have to cry on. Like, no, it would just be like,
again.
Yeah, it'd just be a line
or
a bit of imagery that just like evokes emotion. And the whole time I'm like, wow, this is a very damn good movie.
Yeah.
I'm on the verge of tears. Do not make me sit through this movie again.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. But watch this movie.
I do encourage you guys to go see it, though.
Please do watch this movie.
Please go see it.
It is definitely worth it.
It's worth all of it.
It is intense without being
overly.
It's not poverty porn.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not activism porn. It's just like, here is a story. I'm sorry, I was trying to stop that. But like, this was a great story. You know, there's nothing more to say. Go watch this movie.
Take kiddos 12 and above, or go see it on a date night with the loved one.
Or do that. And on that note, Kaiju out.